139 of those are a threat to national security and a drain on the country's security budget. While some have been amicably resolved, there are still many that continue to threaten peaceful coexistence.
It's a great evening to get together once again to celebrate the Ghanaian ingenuity and the Ghanaian creativity. Something is about to happen tonight that will change the narrative and the way we define the word L-U-C-K-N-Y.
Right, and tonight we'll be presenting to you a very beautiful opportunity to tell you that wherever you are and no matter what you do, luck can get to you. And so whether you're a doctor, you're a pharmacist, whether you're a mason, whether you're a journalist, regardless of what you do, there's luck coming for you.
Genius Losa and the Luckiest has been launched, and I expect the public to also participate in it and win big.
Star 7 1 2 hash.
You could be the luckiest.
In a world where
Only this year, a Damangora was installed after an 8-year conflict between two sides who were claiming the royal skin. More recently, chieftaincy-related disturbances in Sampa in the Bono region have left us asking if the middle belt of the country is on the brink of a conflict and who or what could be the solution. My guest in this edition considers himself the custodian of tradition. He has asked for an all-hands-on-deck approach and prayers to succeed in his work. Stephen Asamoah, Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, is my guest on Hot Issues. You're welcome to Hot Issues.
Thank you.
I want us to begin from what we have seen recently. We've seen two royal houses at loggerheads with each other, and I'm talking about the Minshia Palace and that of Domahene. How seriously is the Chieftaincy Ministry looking at this?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to come and talk to Ghanaians on what I'm doing or the government is doing on the chieftaincy and religious front. I have a difficult job in the sense that chieftaincy concerns everybody in the sense of we all come from a community that there's a chief or there's a dukru or there's a mankralu or there's a ohene or whatever. But there are issues with how people get stewed or skinned. And so in the wisdom of the Ghanaian constitution, we guaranteed chieftaincy and also enacted an act, Act of Parliament, to guide all of us. And if you go by the act, which is Chieftaincy Act 208, 759, and look at the constitution, it should be simple for everybody to just be calm and peaceful and live together happily after. But there are emotions attached and people want to do things that are not right. But they keep on doing it. I'm trying to build a reason to the issue you raised.
Absolutely.
When this matter came to my knowledge, and because I knew the funeral taking place in Brekum, which is the Brekum Hene, I was originally supposed to be there, but I had to take another program, so I couldn't go. The Brekum Hene's funeral announcement was made in the presence of me with the president, so we're all due to go there. So I was following it. And I picked a signal that the program was in danger of a clash between the Domahene and the Asante Hene. And so I did what I'm supposed to do, talk to both and find out what's going on. Because we know the public discourse.
Right.
So I did my best to...
So what did you find out from both sides of the issue?
Well, the program was drawn by Brekum Traditional Council as to how they buried their chief. And the program was such that the regional House of Chiefs and their presidents were meant to be there on the Wednesday. And the Thursday was dedicated to Otumfuo, the Asantehene. But I picked a signal that the Domahene wanted to go on the Thursday. And so I know him very well. I've been to his house. I've talked to almost all the chiefs in Ghana. So I called him. I think he said it publicly, so I will tell Ghanaians that yes, indeed, I called him. That's the job I do. Behind the scenes, I don't have to say it but publicly.
Right.
And I pleaded with him that, look at the program. You're meant to be there on Wednesday, not Thursday, because I know the public discourse will not be peaceful if you appear on the same day.
So the Domahene crashed the event that day?
Well, he had a reason for saying that it was the Wednesday he couldn't attend the funeral because it's Dabone, which is he doesn't have to go. But I explained to him that unfortunately I didn't do the program. The program people put him on the Wednesday, so he must go and explain. And indeed, the Brekum Traditional Council engaged him through the chairman of the planning committee. That it's Wednesday supposed to be here.
Right.
But I also advised that with the numbers he was going to come with, even if the Thursday was possible, which it wasn't, and the numbers that was also coming from Otumfuo, it would be a clash.
Right.
The two of them would be decent enough, but the supporters or the backers or the followers, you can't guarantee. And then now have to draw national security involved and try to separate them. It didn't work out that way, so he still insisted, and I said, no, I'm afraid, listen to the planning committee of Brekum Traditional Council, and from there I left it.
Right.
So I think it occurred that they went to him and pleaded he wouldn't listen. So I think they followed up with an injunction. I traveled, so I didn't go through the detail. But when I came, I had picked up the signal. There was an injunction on him not to appear. So he wasn't happy. I saw the video on...
Was that injunction necessary?
I don't know. As I said, I'm not a planning committee member. I'm not part. So that's the best route I think they thought they can take. I thought, if you ask me personally, I think the chieftaincy institution is such that they can talk without going to the courts. Sure. And I thought that would have been the best. But obviously, they thought it was so serious that they had to take an injunction. Because he could have decided to go whether he was invited or not. But the injunction may have to have come in, and that's what they did.
What we saw during that funeral is the most public we have seen of the disagreements between the Domahene and the Asantehene, which means that the problem has persisted before then. Yeah. What exactly is going on?
Well, it's historical. It's also something that you and I may not understand, but I believe that times have moved on. We are not in the ancient times, and whether we like it or not, those days there was no democracy, so the chieftaincy institution ruled, and one gets up and beat the other beats up, you go and remobilize. So it was all over the place. But now we have a democracy. There is a state called Ghana, and power is invested in the presidency, who has the authority of the security apparatus. So you cannot go and beat anybody you like as in the past. But we all know that at some point the Asantes defeated the Domas at some point, and it's not been easy for some people to take it. But whether they like it or not, I'm originally a Dencher, and we also we defeated them, and they also defeated us. That was the order of the day. But that is historical thing, that's gone. So I believe in the modern democracy, we need to be able to understand that we belong to one nation and we are one people. The most important is to train and develop our human capacity, your children or your younger group, so that they can help you build your state you want to, if it's an Ashanti state or it's a Bono state or it's a Fanti state, or it is your citizens or the people who are your citizens. Very well. Rather than fight and argue and talk about what is gone in the past.
And I want us to look at that, but it would appear that the chieftaincy ministry is not particularly looking seriously into this disagreement between the two royal houses.
Well, I think that it will resolve itself in a way because
How so when we have seen the issue degenerate in Sampa?
Well, with this incident on the Brekum matter, I probably will have to take a special look at it and try and engage both.
Why has it taken you this long
to
take a special look at it?
Well, it wasn't an issue because I know the historical facts, and it's happened.
But the historical facts are the reason that people from the Ashanti region, people people from the Bono Halfon region on social media insulting each other. And we saw what it resulted in Sampa.
No, Sampa is a different. Well, it's related.
It
but
is.
It's also, and that's why I'm saying that it's become an issue which is now cropping up in the public domain and it's disrupting lives and activities. And in the Sampa incident, somebody had lost his life, and some even security agencies suffered some injury. So it's now
right. So why? So the question is, why are you thinking that this will resolve itself?
Well, they have the institutions of chieftains, the regional houses are there, the national houses there. My job as a minister is not to dabble in the traditions and the culture of them. I explain the law to them and get my registrars to guide them. And I've got counsels, lawyers out there. They got judicial committee. So anytime something crops up, I say refer it to the regional House of Chiefs or the national. If the regions cannot resolve it, it goes to the national.
But
and this matter has been referred. Most of them are sitting in the National House of Chiefs.
Right.
There's a lot of pending cases.
So this matter between Domahene and Asantehene has been referred to which house?
Well, it's being resolved by the chiefs themselves. It's at the national level. I've spoken to the president of the National House of Chiefs,
right.
and this matter is being discussed. I don't know the level because it's not something that has to go to the judicial committee because there's no legal matters involved. It's a historical thing. It's an understanding of the status of Otumfuo. If you look at the act very carefully, and it describes who are the categories of chiefs under Section 58, I think. The number one is Otumfuo and other.
And I want us to.
I didn't craft it. And then it goes to other divisional chiefs and sub-divisional chiefs and Odikros and all that. So you try and equate yourself and fight, it doesn't work.
That brings me to the question. If this issue is at the National House of Chiefs, and just as you have identified that even in the Chieftaincy Act, the Asantehene is separated from the rest of the paramount chiefs, do you think that Domahene will feel that they would get unbiased adjudication from the Judicial Committee of the National House?
But what is to be adjudicated? The Act is clear. Unless you want to do an amendment of the law, if you can try it.
Isn't there an issue to be adjudicated between the Asantehene and Domahene?
It's talking, it's understanding the culture, the importance of our own identity, and also being content with what you've got and trying to grow your state, if that's the way you call it. And as I said, if you want to grow yourself and become powerful, look at the generation, the young ones. What can you do to empower them? Education, employment, entrepreneurship. They themselves will make your state bigger. So it's not a question of arguing in public and trying to throw shades. It doesn't work.
But let me ask you, you are also to foster a relationship between the government and the chieftaincy institution. So you tell me, do you think it is helpful that the Chieftaincy Act separates the Asantehene from other paramount chiefs?
Well, in the wisdom of Parliament, that's what happened.
Is it helpful?
Well, it is helpful. I was in Parliament in 2008 when we passed it. We had a lot of debate, a lot of representations, and it was passed. If you think, and anybody thinks that there must be an amendment to it, they can suggest it.
Does the Asantehene arrogate unto himself any other powers that the other paramount chiefs cannot have?
Not to my knowledge. He's running his kingdom all right. He hasn't interfered with anybody.
So what makes the Asantehene different from any other paramount chief that the chieftaincy? Hold on.
I've given you the chieftaincy.
Hold on. You were in Parliament at the time. I want to understand the thinking behind that. What makes Asantehene different from other paramount chiefs? Because that is where the contention is right now.
It's not a contention. If you look at the history of Ghana, if you look at how colonialism came in and how we developed as a nationhood, there were other tribes. They all had their role to play at some point.
Absolutely.
But it became obvious, even to the colonial authorities, that the Asantehene was different. I mean, whether you like it or not.
What made him different?
I don't know. I'm just saying it became obvious.
Do you think so?
It is not my opinion that matters here. I have to live with what.
How does the wording of the Chieftaincy Act make your job difficult?
Well, not that particular. The Chieftaincy Act has been around for what, 15 years? So obviously there's a need to look at it again. And I have initiated that. So I've already thrown into the House of Chiefs that if that is an issue and they want to bring it up, and look at that particular clause, it's up to them, not me. My job is to guide them. And so I'm not going to go into the details of why Asantehene is the superior identified in the act or why the other chiefs are different. I don't have to do that. That's not my job. My job is to work with the act now. But behind the scenes, I would encourage them to talk and dialogue. And there are roles that they can play. Let them come up with it. Then the act will take care of it. But that's not me to try and change it as a person, as a minister. That's not my job.
And is there any interest in wanting to amend the chieftaincy?
Oh, yes, I've started. I've set up a committee. We've done the consultation, and it's now with the House of Chiefs. My information is that they would get it back to me, hopefully, by the end of this year. And then it goes to cabinet, it goes to parliament. So there's all process of discussion, even in parliament, when it goes to a committee in parliament, before it goes to the full house, and the amendment is effective. So there's opportunity for
directly, more directly, because I know you're working on other allies to do with codification. So more directly, does the amendment you're proposing or the chiefs are proposing include the wording that separates Asantehene from other paramount chiefs?
Not to my knowledge at the moment. As I said, I've thrown it to the House of Chiefs, and they would have to come back with those amendments. I don't have to suggest.
Is it time we did that?
It is. I wouldn't give you an answer today because it is not my job to interfere with customs. That's not my job. Politicians are not the best.
Separating the Asantehene from other paramount chiefs is not custom. That is what the chieftaincy act...
But the law at this moment, that's what it says.
I understand
so
that.
If there's a need to do that, let the chiefs also discuss it. Bring it to us, and the politicians, we will do our discussion in cabinet and in parliament. Then we go through the majority decision. That's what I am here to guide everybody
I understand the Chieftaincy Act is not a private member's bill, so it didn't come.
Yes.
Right. So what I'm saying is that it's not customs. It has nothing to do with the customs and traditions of the people.
Yeah, I understand.
This is what Parliament had discussed in 2008 and past.
So the opportunity exists. The opportunity...
No, hang on. See where I'm going with it. Now that you occupy the office of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, you passed this in 2008. You see the problems it is creating right now. Is it time we took a second look at that wording in the Chieftaincy Act?
I think in our discussion I've said the opportunity exists. So let all Ghanaians apply their minds.
I want to hear from you. Is it time that we took a second look at that?
We're taking a second look at the amendment of the Act.
Of the entire...
It includes a lot. In fact, apart from what you just mentioned and whether Asantehene must be different from the paramount chiefs, there are areas that has never been discussed, like queen mothers. Although the Act takes care of queen mothers, because to become a chief, you must either you are a chief or a queen mother. The Act takes care of it from your lineage and properly nominated and skinned or installed. So, but I noticed that the queen mothers sometimes don't play a significant role. So that's another subject that is also being discussed. But it's not easy because the chiefs don't see the queen mothers as part.
Is that something you proposed?
So, no, I didn't propose that.
All right.
I didn't propose that. But it's been a topic that I've thrown up, and I've suggested that they look at it again. So it's all part of the discussion going on. So whenever they bring it, we will take it to the appropriate area, which is cabinet and to parliament, and then we will discuss it.
Earlier this year, when you were affirmed as Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs Minister, one of the things that you talked about is the fact that a lot of changes would happen in the work of the ministry. What has changed 10 months on?
Well, what has changed is calmness on the front of the chieftaincy institution, apart from the isolated case of the Sampa, and of course this public display from the Brekum funeral thing. But if you look at the Boko incident, for instance, it's now calmer, although the criminal element still continues, but that's a security issue which is being dealt with. But the understanding of the chieftaincy problem is now being discussed, and it's back to where it should be done, which is the chiefs themselves. Otumfuo has stepped in as he helped deal with the Dagon one. He's also stepped in. You see the significance of his role. So every time there's a problem, it heads back to him. So as I said, it's up to us to decide where his role is. So that also has been thrown back to Otumfuo, and he's doing a job for us. And so Boko is now much more calmer, although there are issues we need to deal with, especially the criminal element. If you look at areas like Achim Kotoku, it's calm. It used to be a problem.
But some would disagree
what
with
has
you
changed
because,
is that the chieftaincy institution is now understanding that disputes don't help anybody. And indeed, it disrupts national development. So that is one of them.
Have they? Because this year alone, when you take a casual look at news reports, you have at least 10 chieftaincy-related disturbances.
There are issues, but you cannot... Chieftaincy is always an issue, you know, even in Ghana. Everywhere in the world, chieftaincy is always an issue. The British monarchy had it in some time past. So it's always there. But it's a question of how you mediate and you handle conflicts, which we've done. So what is changing is the calmness has come back, except they're isolated. So you cannot completely get rid of it. So the calmness is back, and that to me is good news. What we need to do is drastically reduce the numbers that are coming up to the judicial committees, and that calls for resources. And in that respect, what is changed is also a lot of resources have come in. Chiefs were not having money to deal with the judicial cases. Now their allowances go quickly, and I release them quickly, so they are sitting as quickly as they can and reducing the numbers. What has also changed and also helping out is also look at how the religious front can also be managed in a way that we don't have charlatan pastors all over, and be able to manage the front and people sometimes abusing others or church members in the name of spirituality. So there's a stakeholder consultation on religious policy, and we have almost completed that. That would also go to cabinet and to parliament. So what is changing is that we've taken a huge step towards that and calmed that area. We also engage in other discussion on succession planning, even on the religious front. It sounds weird that why would you, but what we notice, especially with the Islamic front, that the chief imam is not getting any younger. It's something we don't want to talk publicly, but we have to look at it. If it happens, what happens? What do we do? So those are areas that we're dealing with. And even the pastor's front, a young pastor will break away without a formality and then start something, there's a conflict. So those are areas that the whole policy of religion is taking care of.
Let's try and understand the chieftaincy institution itself.
Yep.
Are they still relevant to us? How relevant are they?
Without the chieftaincy institution, it would be chaos as well. They are the custodians of our customs and tradition. And for Ghana, we are proud to have the chieftaincy institution, which is protected and guaranteed under the Constitution, 270. And so for me, if you travel outside the country, especially to areas like Angola, to even South Africa, and without the chiefs having a full control, and some of them are controlled by the government themselves, you see that there's a bit of chaos underground.
But in this country, have the chiefs shown their relevance to the people? Because what we keep hearing on the ground is how some of them are, you know, not conducting themselves in the best of ways.
It's because you're highlighting the negatives.
Okay,
it's because you are highlighting the negatives.
Because I was going to talk about the indiscriminate selling of lands also.
Oh, well, that is the negative sometimes that comes up. But sometimes people ignore the importance of, for instance, mobilizing the people for development. Don't forget that communal labor at the lowest level, even the divisional side and the traditional authorities, are conducted by chiefs. Some chiefs, and most of them nowadays, I believe, have set up education funds to complement what the state is up to doing. So a lot of them give scholarships, even beyond their boundaries.
In which areas would we find that?
Oh, you find them, again, in the Ashanti region, in some central region, in almost all the traditional areas. Almost every chief sets us up. I was at the traditional, Shama Traditional Council, and myself and my colleague, Minister for Local Government, set up an education fund on behalf of a Queen Mother who looked after us when we were young boys in the student days. So education is part of the development agenda that chiefs are promoting. They're also promoting investments. Chiefs are also able to go out of the country or even to mobilize their locals, their citizens to invest in certain, what do you call it, entrepreneurial activities. I can't be too...
I see.
Oh, there's a lot of chiefs. If you go to, like, let me give you an example of the Nanajwa Benhene, who has set up a business of oil palm plantation and processing. It is also giving employment to his citizens. So a lot of chiefs are doing all these things, which is positive. And the chiefs are also the custodians of our customs. Without our custom, we are nobody. If you lose your custom as a citizen or your language, your value, and you want to take, then you are losing your identity. Are you with me? And the chiefs, that's custodians.
So I want to talk about the places where there are conflicts. We all know that it impacts development. And we've seen retarded development in some of these areas. But I do want to find out from you, what is your ministry doing to ensure that the people of this area, the young people, the women, the children, are not caught up in that retarded growth? Let's take Boko, for instance, where economic activities have slowed down.
And that's why we have taken our time to resolve the Boko matter and put it where it should be resolved, the chiefs. But for me, is to make sure that the security aspects also handled very well, because that's also the reason why most businesses are moving out. And so far, we've tackled it. If you hear, even what's happening in Boko is isolated incidents, and we are on top of that. I can tell you the commercial activity is almost not back to full, but it's operating. What we need to do is create the normal local markets where a lot of activities take place.
Why haven't you done that?
It's because of the same, where do you cite it? Is it the Kusasi area or the Mampusi area? But that's also been discussed. And so that would then be the next level of activity that brings commercial life into Boko, for instance.
What I'm driving at is whether or not there is any space in your budget or allocation in your budget for recovery for residents in these conflict-ridden areas.
No, really. That is not the ministry's responsibility in terms of recovery. What we need to do, the national cake is there. Education Ministry, Agri, they all have budgets that goes into specific sector areas of education, Agri, name them, health, and that's available. My job and the job of the Chieftaincy Ministry is to make sure that there's peace and quiet.
Yeah, but that's the point I'm making, that the attention has been given a lot to let's adjudicate the matter, and we are not looking at the impact the matter is already having on the people. So we have people in conflict areas and they are extremely poor.
Well, once you resolve it, then activities begin to happen.
Until resolution, yes, something should be happening for the people.
If there's no peace, how do you develop?
Hang on. I'm saying that until resolution, something should be happening for the people. It doesn't have to be...
But nothing has stopped, really. I mean, even where there are issues, development still goes on. But it's not as we want it. The road networks we are putting together in areas. You go to areas that are even having difficulty. The Boko, for example, from Bolga to Boko, the road has been done, even though there's conflict. Are you with me? So things have not come to a halt because there's a problem or there's a dispute. But where there's the dispute
I understand what you're saying. But the truth of the matter is road will not fill the belly of somebody in a conflict-ridden area. Road will not fill the belly of somebody who feels unsafe in their homes because they're afraid that somebody might touch them.
I think we reduce development to roads not filling bellies. Let me just...
Hang on. In this particular case, where they are in a conflict situation, I don't think road is the first line of development they think about.
Yeah, but as I said, the state sector ministries are already there. Health matters are being dealt with, so that is not road. Agric is being done. That is not road. And are you telling me people don't get fed? They get fed. They find food. They are farmers. Our job, even security, is to protect them. So even the security angle, and my ministry is working with national security, is to make sure that people have their own peace to develop themselves. It's not something that we should go there and say, okay, because road is not directly affecting your food, we are going to plan something for you. You have to do it yourself. But we need to make sure that there's peace and the security is tight. So it doesn't mean there's an issue there, there's no development completely. But we want it faster. So peace comes in, then development moves faster. That's what it is. So it's not a question of because of the conflict areas, nothing goes on. A lot of things goes on. But we want the whole place to be peaceful. Without peace, it's difficult.
Very well. I do want us to look at some of the reasons that have been ascribed to why we are seeing what we see in some of these conflict areas. Succession is one of those things. And for 20 years, we've been working on a codification law to be able to streamline succession. Why haven't we been able to put it together till now?
Well, it's lack of resources as well. I mean, the codification of lines of succession is an assignment given by law to the National House of Chiefs. And my job is to assist them. and mostly it's resources. You need the researchers to go out there to identify who are the royals and who succeeds who and what, so we can codify it. As I speak to you now, of the over 343 traditional areas, just about under 20 have done them, and it's lack of resources. And we need to find...
Even now, the problem is lack of resources?
It's resources. I mean, you need people to go in there, because everybody wants to claim something. You need to go and establish it. And you need researchers. You need the resource for people to move in. So it is something that is in my budget, which we want to push more money.
I want to be clear about the resource. Are you referring to money
it's
or
money from the state.
Money from the state. But your ministry is one of those that has received quite...
Not really. If you look
your
at
budget has always been released. In 2020, before you came to office.
It's released, but you look at the quantum that we get. So we've been arguing our case to the Ministry of Finance.
You want more money?
Yes, not me, but we need more money to do that.
How much was released to you this year?
Well, last year we had about, I think, 40-something million. And this year we advocated for more than that, in fact, about 400 million. And they're looking at what for. And of course,
I'm thinking same. What for? What do you need 400 million?
But that is one area I'm looking at. Even the codification alone would take out about almost 25 million.
What would you use that money for? 25?
But how do you understand what goes into research?
I want to understand.
You need to get people onto the field. You don't pay them?
So how many people would
well, I can't give you the number. That's
you've got to have
pedantic. But you need to do research, and you pay people.
I see.
You also need to find the right system in terms of computerization to codify properly. So it's not written or documented by paperwork. And no, you call for computers. You need to also, for the judicial system to work, you need to let them be online and be able to use electronical ways of doing their job rather than paperwork. And all that costs for money, to buy the hardware, to get the software. So you couldn't say, why do you want money? Because it goes into all that. So you need to get that, then you get the people to go there, then come and verify it and validate it. It's all cost for money. Then, of course, you need to meet the locals. It's a stakeholder consultation. That also calls for some resources. So that's why things have not moved the way we want it.
So you need about 25 million cities to be able to do that?
On average. If we can get that, it will solve a lot of problems. Right. That alone would, because most of the conflicts you see are because you cannot establish sometimes who is the rightful person to occupy a stool or a skin. And if the codification is available and it's known to everybody, it's obvious. We know who gave birth to who. If it's a matrilineal, we know where your mother's line comes from. If it's patrilineal, we know your father's side. And if we don't codify it, anybody can jump in. And then that's where the chaos comes in.
One of the things that has been, has been also noted is trust issues exist between the people and the government. They are amongst the people themselves and then the government.
On what?
Trust issues, on government's ability to be able to deal with it unbiasedly. It's become an issue. We've seen it in the past where people would say that so-and-so person is interfering in the matter.
No, not to my knowledge. Government has never, from my end, no government, as I know, have interfered with chieftaincy matters that has disrupted it. The chiefs themselves have a way to conduct their activity as to who is from the lineage and has been validly nominated or selected and installed or skinned. It's clear, except to say that if it's not well established, then there's people who come and claim it. But governments come in, if there is to try and make sure they all understand each other, and that's why the codification matter comes in. But in terms of interfering and installing a chief, it's not the government's business. I haven't got a situation where a government has installed a chief or a government has installed a chief.
Well, not so. Again, that's why the premise of the question is on trust. The fact that the people can't trust that the matter the ministry or the government is involving itself in would be dealt with fairly.
But you see, then it doesn't come in because, you see, if you have an issue, you go to the traditional council. Because the systems are there, except that people want to go outside the system and appeal to a politician, a government official, and say, come in. Why do I come in? That's why I said, when there are customs and tradition, My job is not to interfere. My job is to guide you to go through the system of the traditional council. And if it doesn't work out that way, you go to the appeal system, which is the regional House of Chiefs. If the regions don't adjudicate it properly for you, then you go to the national. Right. And even to the Supreme Court, if you want it that way. So
just a few examples of what I'm talking about I want to give you. Tamale Central Member of Parliament on TV3, one of the things he talked about, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, was that political interference is a cause of the raging conflict in Boko in the Upper East region. We also know that in the past, February 15th, 2023, the government condemned developments in Naleregu concerning the purported enskinment of a new Boko Naba, calling it illegal and a threat to national security. The Information Ministry released a statement to that effect. It may have been in
It's a great evening to get together once again to celebrate the Ghanaian ingenuity and the Ghanaian creativity. Something is about to happen tonight that will change the narrative and the way we define the word L-U-C-K-N-Y.
Right, and tonight we'll be presenting to you a very beautiful opportunity to tell you that wherever you are and no matter what you do, luck can get to you. And so whether you're a doctor, you're a pharmacist, whether you're a mason, whether you're a journalist, regardless of what you do, there's luck coming for you.
Genius Losa and the Luckiest has been launched, and I expect the public to also participate in it and win big.
Star 7 1 2 hash.
The luckiest. You could be the luckiest.
In good faith for the ministry to have done that. But it constitutes interference to the matter, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. The government is there to ensure peace prevails everywhere. So when there is an established Boko Naba recognized by law and by the House of Chiefs themselves, and who is a member of the Regional House of Chiefs of Upper East, and you go and install another Boko Naba in Naleregu, of course it creates chaos. And government cannot sit there and allow such chaos to happen. So when the ministry issues a statement, that's not interference. It's telling you that the law doesn't allow you to do that.
Could have been more appropriate if it came from the National House of Chiefs?
But the National House of Chiefs dealt with it severally. It didn't work. And when there's chaos likely to happen and there's a security implication, you don't leave it to the National House of Chiefs. The government steps in. So I work closely with the national security apparatus. Indeed, most of the national security issues, about 70% from our records, shows that these are chieftaincy related. So if that is the case, then I come in to make sure that you abide by the law. So all we're doing is to make sure the state is secure. And that is our job. So that's not interference. I think people get confused, and when you say trust, they don't understand what we do, so they think that we're interfering. No. If it's likely to develop into an issue and a crisis and deaths and loss of lives and property destruction, then the state must act.
How do we then build more trust amongst the people themselves? And then
it's education, isn't it?
Between the people and government.
Well, the law is obviously there. That's number one. People must read the law. And if you go against the law or outside the law, we will bring you back to it. Even the chiefs. When the chief is going outside the law, my job is to call the attention of the chief to the law. There are instances where I've called some chiefs and I said, Nana, if you don't do it this way and you go this way, the law will catch up with you. So come back. And the worst of it is for the law to catch up with and get handcuffed. That's even a ground for dismissal. So I pointed out to them, and somehow, once they get to know, they come back to what is right to do. So it is the education that we have to tell that the law guides all of us. But the tradition is there. The law doesn't supplant the tradition. We just guide you.
While we're on the issue of codification, is there resistance on the part of the people in documenting their succession lines?
Some areas, yes, they would not easily allow you to do that because it's not in the favor of maybe the certain paramount chief. But that's not your business, whether it is in your favor or not. the state has enacted a law which asks us to be able to codify the line of succession. And that is something that we intend to do. So, yes, there are issues, but if we have the resources to move in and we get them, it will be to their benefit. They may not see it now, but the benefit is the peaceful atmosphere in your community. So if you want to sacrifice that for the peace for your chieftaincy, then you are not a proper chief. A proper chief is to have your community backing you. Or you may not be liked by one half, but your job is to extend a hand to them and let them come closer. When you are a boss, you don't denigrate others. So there is a lot of education that I have to also conduct, not only and training, not only from.
But we've been conducting education since, haven't we?
Yeah, but there are always
a chunk of your budget goes into that.
Well, some go to that, but it's not a lot. We need to see, some chiefs don't even understand even the Chieftaincy Act. Some don't even understand the sale of land and even how to append their signature or not to append their signature. Some don't understand that this land belongs to a clan. It's not the chief's responsibility, it's the clan. You come to Greater Accra, most of the lands are clan owned. Some areas is family. So it is a question of the training and education, which I am working with other development partners who have come in and wanting to assist. We're also working with the Ministry of Education and others. These are long-term,
maybe not every place needs a chief. Could we say that? That
would be a mistake if there isn't. In Ghana, you like it or not, there are chiefs everywhere. Every piece of land belongs to somebody. And indeed, one of the reasons we are protected in a way from external aggression in Ghana is that if anybody from outside the country steps into Ghana, anywhere, somebody will find out that who is this person, which land, who gave you that land. And indeed, that's what is protecting us from our northern borders. You know the problem of Burkina Faso and the threat of terrorism coming in. One of the advantages is that every piece of land along the border has a chief who controls it. So anybody who steps in, you'll be reported to the chief will let us know. So we pick up that kind of intelligence. And so everybody is on the alert, especially in that area. The same thing with our borders. So we need the chiefs. That is why the Constitution guaranteed it. If you look at 270, it says guaranteed. So it's not a question of me trying to take it away from them. I need it. You need it.
Well, I mean, we're not taking it away from them. We're having a discussion as to their relevance in today's world, especially those that spring up because people have gathered at, in a community.
We've modernized it. As I said, when we started the interview, we talked about one tribe rising up to beat another one, and you go and remobilize, and that's gone. That is in the past. Can never happen. If you mobilize to go and beat somebody, the state will come in and stop you. Are you with me? So we need to understand that, yes, the modernity and democracy has brought in a different level of chieftaincy activity and roles for chiefs. And the key role for chiefs is agents of change, agents of development. And there are agents who have to mobilize their people on the front of education, entrepreneurship, businesses. If you do that and your citizens do that, you, the chief, it raises your status.
In this country of ours, there isn't really any kind of religious tension here at the moment. Why do we insist on having a policy on religion?
Well, in any front of human endeavor, you need to find a way to make sure there is harmony, there's peace. You don't have to wait till a problem comes in before you anticipate, you plan it.
Why do you fix what's not broken? It's not broken.
Well, we are not fixing anything. We are trying to organize and manage a front, which it's not. When you say it's not broken, I can tell you there are issues in there.
Okay.
I'm a Christian. There are issues, and so I'm not denying the fact. But it's not become into the open and fighting, as you rightly said, that we are not in conflict. No.
I see. What kinds of issues? I'll let you come back to the point, but what kinds of issues are we seeing?
You probably have seen, and I've seen people where people set up churches, nobody knows them, and have a congregation, and a pregnant woman will go for prayers, and they stamp their feet on the pregnant belly, and some of them will pour something on them or use some concoction. Nobody has validated it, and no medical certificate has been given. It's a lot.
Right. So it means that bothers. I'll come back to a point, but that bothers the ministry. What you have just mentioned bothers the ministry a lot.
It's not just the ministry. There's a concern in the communities, the Christian community. Some senior pastors obviously are worried that the junior ones, if we're not careful, would destroy the image of Christianity. Okay. So the issues have come up. That's why there's an engagement in the public domain. Okay. So I'm not the one who is saying that we have to change. The issues have come up.
Is the ministry in a position to do anything about that?
But that's why there's a policy we put out there.
I mean, the policy is a slow move.
It's not a slow move. That is, you have to have a guideline.
It takes time, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you cannot, we're not in a military government where you can say immediate and urgent and do that. No, you got to engage everybody and find a way. And my approach is that there should be self-regulation rather than government regulating them. So if there's self-regulation, why don't you allow the players themselves to come up with the ideas? And that's what we're doing. So it's a bottom-up approach, not government saying that do this, do that, do that. If you go to certain countries, I'm told, in Rwanda, which I haven't been, I hear the government is saying you do this. If you haven't got a first degree, you cannot set up a chair.
Absolutely.
But, so what I am not going to go that way. If that is the case, then it has to be brought up by the players themselves.
So what I was driving at is that while you do not have the policy even now, there are a lot of apparatus at your disposal to be able to engage, to sanitize the, the system.
Yes. If there's a criminality, and then we call on the agency to act. Like the military or security, the police can act. If there's a noise making in some community, the local government act is there. It can deal with noise making. So we immediately can work within our existing laws.
Have you done any of these?
Oh yes, of course. I talk to my colleagues.
How many of such have you taken care of?
I wouldn't be able to tell, but since I became a minister, there are areas about 7 or 8 have drawn the attention of the Ministry for Local Government and the municipal chief executives to step in.
And what happened after that?
Oh, then they resolved to lower the tension or the noise level or go in the middle of the night to drum while people are sleeping. This go behind the scenes.
So if you're taking action, why is it that we continue to see that in the public space? These things that you have mentioned.
But you cannot resolve all problems at once. You can start from somewhere.
Well, but if something is deterrent, then others would see it and say, no, I don't want to do this.
Well, that should be the case, but not necessarily. There are people who are the recalcitrant. They will do it. In a human society, there are people who don't listen or who don't obey the law. And that's why there's punishment. Are you with me? And there are punishment alongside all the acts that we exist. But if we get a law or a policy that translates into a law, then you have limits, and then you can be punished if there's a problem. But in a case that there's nothing, and you are relying on numerous legislations and laws around, it doesn't come together properly for somebody to manage it. And that's why the policy is coming through.
All right.
So it is necessary for us.
So back to the point of the policy. What we were asking about was that we don't have interfaith tension in the country.
But you don't need to wait for the tension first. You don't need to wait for the tension. I think that we are more pragmatists in looking at a solution of something that may not even be there, but you can see it coming. If you look at around the world, there is. Why do you want to wait to hit Ghana before?
So admittedly, you realize that we do not have that religious tension.
We don't. We coexist.
How do you then feel about the vice president when he goes around and tries to pitch Christians against Muslims and tell us that there is a division between the two?
I haven't heard of that. Vice President of the Republic
during his campaign, he has always played that card, the Christian-Muslim card, during his campaign.
He has been a champion of togetherness and also a peaceful ambassador for all of us, both Christians and Muslims. He goes to the church, he goes to the mosque. I have not heard and I haven't seen him pitching one camp against. This is the first time I'm hearing that. I don't believe it. But I believe that we have a very unique country where everybody lives peacefully. Christians, Muslims, Buddhists, and fetish, we all live peacefully. Right. But you can never be too comfortable and say that because there's no tension, wait till it happens before you act. So the policy is for us to understand that let's continue the path. Let's continue peaceful coexistence. And so there's nothing wrong with bringing the policy.
What do you say to people who think that this policy will be infringing on their religious freedoms?
Well, I'm cognizant. I'm very much aware and cognizant of the constitutional rights of everybody to have a freedom of worship. So that is part of the discussion. Nobody is going to gag anybody or regulate anybody unnecessarily. That's why the policy is out in the public domain, for people to understand that it is self-regulation I'm seeking, that the community of Christians and Muslims and others must come together to know how they can manage their front. And it's more of a bottom-up approach than the top-down. And this is the solution. If you go top-down, it will meet resistance. But if they themselves generate it, then they understand how to self-regulate. And this is the policy that I'm bringing. I believe that as we did the, what they call it, the stakeholder consultation, and we're working together with our development partner, the United Nations, you know that, the United Nations Population Fund. And they have been our key partners, because church leaders, especially, are very prominent and well-respected leaders. Some people even believe their pastors more than even the head of their household, the family. So if you can get them to lead exemplary life, and they can lead all of us, better. And so for us to leave that front unmanaged, and people are just springing up, or churches, they're chaos.
So I want us to tackle that influence, the church wheels, and how some of the churches are meddling in politics because of that. How is the ministry processing the involvement of the church in politics?
Politics and church and the state and chieftaincy, we work together. When people say you are interfering, or the religious people are interfering in politics,
you know what I'm driving at. We have seen 31st night how prophecies are told about who
now
will
you are
win
zooming
and
into that one.
who
can be president, or who will lose.
Yes, I mean, how's the ministry processing that?
I have been talking to some of the pastors on how they deviate from the doctrine. And some understand, and they conform, or they do what the Bible...
Have they?
Oh, I know. I mean, I wouldn't name names here, but I've been engaged in a lot of them.
The only time they conformed was when the IGP threatened to arrest them.
Not really. There would have been more. Since I came in, I am almost in every church. I mean, I'm talking, I'm a Christian. I pick up a phone and call. Some of the chieftaincy disputes that you don't hear about is because I'm talking to the participants and calming them down. The fact that a minister of state has called them alone shows that they are recognized and we are watching them. So they sort of conform. So there's a lot we're doing on the front. But I have not seen church members interfere in the politics. They are part of the society. Pastors and imams, they are part of the society. If something is going wrong in government, in the state, they have a right to comment. But you are zooming in, and that's why I got your point about prophecies. That is something I cannot say right or wrong, because prophecies are divine. Whether they have seen God or they have heard, I don't know. Are we going
to see some 31st night? I mean, you've been engaging some of them.
We've been talking to them to listen to the voice of the Holy Spirit, those who do that. If you are not driven by the Holy Spirit and you prophesy, I don't know, then you are using your human capacity to maybe cause chaos or fear. They are human beings. We talk to them, some understand. There are those who will not understand. That's where the IGP, for instance, came in. So they must understand that they have to conform to a state rules and regulation. They cannot just operate because you're a pastor on your own.
Based on the work that you have done so far, how sanitized do you think 31st night will be from politics?
You mean the coming 31st?
Yes.
Oh, I hope it will be calmer than it used to be. Prophecies which are not really based on true divine intervention. But if it is, it's not me. It is not Asamoah Barton's job to tell you this is from God or not. Are you with me? There are pastors who know themselves. I won't name them, but they will be spoken to. I am, especially getting to the end of the year, which you've raised the subject, I'll be talking to some of them and calm them down. So, but if the Spirit asks them to do it, who am I to say they are not right? So it's a dodgy. Divine matters and spirituality is difficult. It can be emotional. And it can be driven without you noticing what it is. You can be taken over by the Spirit today. You can never tell. But how do I do that? My job is you don't interfere with somebody's life. You don't cause harm. You don't cause fear. Because the state has to protect everybody. So we would talk to them, keep talking to them.
I see.
That's what we can do.
I see. You seem very interested in religious coexistence. So tell me why your ministry is spending a lot of money to develop Christian heritages What about Islamic heritages in the country?
Oh, it's part of it. I mean, it is.
But your document only says Christian heritage.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
I haven't looked at the missing link of the Muslim one. It should be.
Okay.
Because there are Muslim heritages that we can also identify.
Which ones are you looking at?
Laribanga, for instance, palace in Damongo. It's
but
a very nice.
are you?
So that's a tourist attraction.
I get it. Are you?
So there are areas we should highlight. So am I promoting it?
No, I understand. What I'm saying is that the document that you presented to the finance ministry.
You may have missed it.
You may have missed it. That's a document you presented to the finance ministry, and you tell me that you may have missed it.
No, this is a document that's with the public domain. That area of Christian heritage. It's within the policy, which has not come through.
Okay.
So if there's a missing of the Muslim one, it can't be included. We just finished a consultation. It hasn't even been to cabinet. It hasn't been to parliament. So it's not conclusive. You've seen something which you've drawn my attention to it. That's good.
I'm happy to hear.
No, that's good. I mean, as I said, I may have missed it. I'm not know it everything. I can't do everything. I've got my directors who are working. I also look through the document, but I may have missed it. But you pointed out that there's no Muslim heritage being promoted. It's good.
One of the things that you spoke about in March is you needed a lot of prayers and spiritual protection in performing your constitutionally mandated task. Why? What have you seen? Why do you need prayers and spiritual protection?
Everyone needs it. You need spiritual protection. As you sit here and do your job, you don't know the eyes are looking at you, who likes you, who doesn't like you. As a human being, you got to seek God's guidance, Allah's blessing, His mercy and His grace. Without that, you won't survive this world. There are people who want to short
your constitutional mandate is not enough to be able to do what you want to do? No,
constitutional mandate is given to you by human beings. But you need a supreme being to be your guidance.
Right.
And your protector. I'm a Christian and I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that you need protection. You cannot walk in this life with your naked two eyes. You've got to have eyes beyond that. And it's only Allah and God who provides it. So for me, that's why I said, without Him, I cannot function. You know that. I've been around in public life for all this while because God protects me. God guides me. I started my political life when I was 18 years. If I'm still around at 65, I'm not doing by my own authority.
Congratulations for such a long political
But I've been in, seen military administrations, I've seen wars, I've seen chaos in Ghana before. And we've come out with the Fourth Republican Constitution. And so I have seen it all in my life. And it's because God is with me. I believe it.
And because of that experience, I want to pick your 2 cents on the choice of a vice president, running mate, sorry. I want to pick your thoughts on the choice of a running mate for the NPP, your party. Some names have come up already.
It's the prerogative of the flag bearer who, at the recent National Council meeting, asked for more time to consult.
Yes, but what do you think about the top 3 names that we've seen already?
I haven't even been.
I'll tell you. Osei Sabusu, the majority leader. Jose Wusu, first deputy speaker. And then we also have the energy minister, Matthew Opoku Prempeh.
People are throwing names out there. People are lobbying. It's normal.
No, these are names that our sources tell us are on the list right now.
Well, I don't know of a list. I know the flag bearer is thinking about a lot of people. Yeah. I know he has
including these 3. What do you think about the names? I don't know.
I wouldn't be here to promote anyone here, not even myself. I'm not
asking you to promote. I want us to assess.
Well, I cannot assess them individually. It's not my job. It is the flag bearer's job.
But you are an experienced politician, experienced member of the party. I would give him counsel
on the quiet. I meet him almost every time. I mean, I can walk into his house and I can send the messages. I wouldn't take that responsibility away from him. But if he consults me, there are an array of people beyond the 3 you just mentioned.
Including you. How about you?
Well, I am not having a discussion with him about me. If he wants to discuss that with me, we would engage. But for me, he has a role to play. He has a job to select a candidate. I have seen the politics. I know where Ghana has come from and where it's going. And I understand the MPP as well as most of the party people. But as I sit here now, I don't know his thinking about names.
But I want to know. I want to know your thinking. What kind of a running mate do you think the NPP needs to complement Dr. Bawumia?
That I can answer. The person must have all the criteria he needs to use to select. Some of them, not all. It's basically the person must be a party person. The person must know the NPP. If you don't, you cannot mobilize the people behind you. And the person must also have the grassroots support. When you are a flag bearer, you are the leader, you are almost at the top there. You need a running mate or a vice presidential candidate who rolls their sleeves down and be able to go down.
Right.
So that's one of them. Then you need a Christian, or because of the Muslim angle where he's coming from, you need a Christian. You should balance it.
I see.
Or you need from the north. You know our party, where we've done it. In the past, we had a Southerner partnered by a Northerner. Now we got a Northerner, so it's obvious that we'll go Southerner. So that's something he has to look at. It doesn't zoom into Ashanti or Fanti, or it can be anybody from Ghana or Kwapim or whatever. But it is the criteria that we are looking at. Somebody, a Christian, to balance his ticket. Somebody who is a Southern to balance the ticket. Somebody who also knows the party extremely well. Can mobilize the grassroots, and somebody who can help him run the country.
Indeed. Thank you for coming. I'm afraid we'd have to leave it here. We wish your ministry all the best.
Thank you.
You have quite an arduous task on your hands.
Thank you.
Stephen Asamoah Boateng is a Minister of Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. We've been having an enthralling conversation about chieftaincy, religious affairs, and some politics. We hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you same time next week. I'm Keminni Amanor. Bye-bye.